Hello, and thank you for joining me again on this next episode of Talking Shit with Heather. Today, our special guest is Dr. Marlis Huebner, and she's going to be bringing a talk today called Mom Anger. It's Not What You Think. And if anybody have been following my past and my story knows that anger is a huge part of obstacles that I've been dealing with for many decades. So this topic very near and dear to my heart, and I'm super excited to hear what she has to say. The talking shit, for those of you are new, why the title of the podcast, right? So it's twofold. A lot of times I will get other practitioners, doctors, and sometimes we will literally talk about shit, coffee enemas, parasites, bacteria, the whole nine yards. Other times it's more of a tongue-in-cheek talking shit of like, what's your shit storm or your shit story, right? That brought you to your healing journey, that brought you to the profession that you're doing. Because I found that when you bring stuff out of the darkness and into the light, that's when people can heal. So with me, 27 years of undiagnosed Lyme disease, celiac, endometriosis, Hashimoto's, and 2 stints to the psych ward, I definitely have my shit story, right? And anybody knows anything with Lyme disease, we deal with something called Lyme rage. It's a very real thing. And then you add the mom thing on top of it. And oh my God, like I said, I'm so excited to get started today. But again, I'm Heather Gray with Discovering Health. I work with fast-paced individuals who want to overcome autoimmune, Lyme and mold issues. But right now we're going to get started with Dr. Huebner and let us hear some of her shit story on why she does what she does, how she got started in this field, how she works with folks, and what's this mom anger about.
Oh my God. Let me first say that I really love the title of your show. I can't stop smiling. I think it's just perfect because it hits the nail on the head, right? And I think sometimes, quite honestly, being a mom is a shit show. Like there's so many things we have to deal with, right? And quite frankly, that's actually the motivation of what I do. I think I can call myself now an anger relief coach. I started out as a life coach. I really started out with science. So my background is in science, and I'm a very data-driven person. I love the science behind things. And, for me, I could not get my head around, like I would argue, I'm a smart person. I have a PhD from the University of Cambridge. And I could just not deal with the tiniest little things, that my kids gave to me, and they would trigger like literally the hell out of me. And when they trigger you, like most of the times, the only way to react is we yell at them. We bribe them, we force them, and and I did not like the person I had become. Like really, it was disgusting. I was disgusted literally by myself. And because I didn't have any tools how to react with them, I would yell at them. And then I would feel like the worst mom on the planet, then you entered the shame and the guilt, right? And I would spend, hours crying in my bed, like, I don't like this person. I don't like it. It was really killing my heart because I was convinced that I'm ruining my child or my children. I have 2. And I'm like, how is this possible? Like, you actually understand it, like the logic, everything. Like, why can you, like all you guys know, I'm sure that yelling is not a good thing. It doesn't feel good. But we also know we feel there's no other way out, right? And then it kind of, they push our buttons and it comes out of us, and then we behave in a way where we're like, oh, I'm disgusted by myself. And so that was really the start of my journey.
Absolutely. How many other moms here listening, right, can relate to that story of getting a little hot tempered, taking it out on our kids, having it go sideways, and then dealing with the aftermath of the guilt and the shame that comes along with that. Yeah. Thank you for that. And how old are your kids?
So my son is 12 and my daughter is 9.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, awesome. Cool. Continue.
Yeah. So, long story short, on top of that, so I've always been a full-time working mom as well. So both my husband and I actually, we have very senior leadership roles in corporate. And I think, I was at a breaking point about 5 years ago, or even a little bit longer, when my daughter was 3, so 6 years ago, where I was like, I cannot do this. And I actually started blaming my job. I was like, it's right, everybody's right. You can't have a career and kids. It doesn't work at the same time. And I literally, again, as I said, I did not have the tools to actually deal with the mental load, like all the demands that were coming from work, but also from your kids. Now, the work part didn't emotionally drain me, but the kids part really did, because I really felt I have a responsibility for somebody else's life, and I'm destroying them. I'm literally destroying my children's life, and it's not their fault. Like, they're little babies at the end of the day, right? And I'm supposed to be here to guide them and show them how it's done in a nice and kind way, but I couldn't show up like that. I couldn't show up. And so, we think when it comes to anger, it's our kids' fault, right? Because you don't listen. Like, if you started listening to me, then I could be nice and calm. And so we tend to not blame, but like, we think it's what happens to us that triggers our anger. And because of that, then we feel like, what then happens is we feel weak, because nobody wants to talk about anger. It's disgusting, right? Nobody likes angry behavior. And so we hide it. We feel shamed about it. And we just don't want to mention it to anybody. And so honestly, I actually started walking out to look into anger management. That was my path of, like, my entry of the journey, because I thought, I need to fix myself. Like, something is wrong with me.
So
And
how long have you dealt with the anger? Like, was it did you notice it coming on with just kids, or was it something that you kind of dealt with looking back for a long time?
So I went into that journey later. So I thought it's my kids and then my husband. And I remember it would escalate so badly. I don't want to go into the details, to be honest. It would escalate so badly at some point that my husband was like, I cannot help you. Like, you need to go and find professional help. And I know this from the clients that I work with, they actually feel there's something wrong with them. And that's what I felt. I need to fix me. Something is utterly wrong. And so along my journey, I learned, like, that's absolutely not true at all. And I can reassure you, if you feel like you have, you blow up out of control, there is nothing wrong with you. The problem is we all have unprocessed emotions inside of us, and we've never learned as human beings to really feel. So if you think about it, all we know about emotions is, I like the good ones. I want to be happy. I want to be joyful. But when it comes to like the tougher ones, like feeling sad or uncomfortable or angry, right? It's like, nope, don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Make them go away, fix them. But that's not how emotions work. So we honestly know nothing. Like, that was the biggest aha moment. We know nothing about how humans operate and how much impact these emotions have on kind of controlling us. So that's what I went down, I educated myself a lot, I got certified and all that sort of stuff. And so that's like over the last like couple of years, then I actually started out as a work-life coach. And then I turned myself into an anger coach, because that was at the core of the problem of most women.
Did you ever see that movie Inside Out?
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, wasn't it the greatest? Like, I bawled like a baby, because I mean, that's exactly what that movie shows you. Joy was trying to take out sadness all the time and like erase her from the pictures. And you can't. It's the same side, right? Different side of the same coin. So I love that you're talking about this and bringing awareness to it, because it's something that, so it's funny, similar. Like, it was a year and a half ago that restarted me again on my health journey, because my husband said, I can't stay married to an angry person anymore, right? Like, I don't know what's wrong with you, and I'm here to support you, but we need to figure it out, because I'm not going to do this anymore, So yeah, I mean, sister after my own heart. So yeah, go ahead and continue on your story. This is awesome.
So honestly, like, really, I think what I want to share is in particular the lessons that I've learned along the way. And so what the biggest one is that I'm responsible for the feelings that I'm producing. And basically that means, because we never learned to really feel, like I was amazing in pretending everything is fine. Like, my life is perfect, and honestly, my life on a piece of paper did look perfect. Like, I had it all. I could tick the boxes, the job, the money, the kids, the great husband, the super degree, but it doesn't matter if you're actually not feeling happy. And so that was the other thing. I would wake up in the morning and I was already like pissed, quite frankly. And I'm like, what's going, like, what is happening? Like everybody told me all my life, do this, be good at school, follow the path. And then you wake up and then, you know, you hear all these comments like, why can you not be grateful for what you have? You should be so satisfied. And so I was 100% convinced something is absolutely wrong with me until I really started understanding how emotions work, and that they are actually, it's literally, we all have like an emotional coding. And if you don't allow yourself to see what's inside of you, like all these unprocessed emotions, they get stored inside of our bodies. They don't go away. So if we stop thinking about them, if we ignore them, they don't go away. They stay inside of our bodies, right? So what then happens is when you're getting triggered, and so by the way, trigger, so I started looking at triggers in a completely different way. I've used trigger to literally heal myself and find out what exactly is that underlying emotional pattern that I need to clear. Because that's actually what's dictating our behaviors, and we don't know. And so because we don't know, what then happens with those unprocessed emotions is we just dump them on our children, we dump them on our partners, right? And so the lesson learned is really, your kids, my kids, are here to help us heal all these unprocessed wounds that we have by actually triggering our emotions. And so you flip it around. You use every trigger that your child is bringing up for you to clear up all the gunk that is inside of you. And so, and that means you have to get real. So an analogy I like to use this, it's not a pretty one, but we're in a shit show, right? So we're all like, look, like we're a big chunk of garbage. Like over the years, we've piled up a lot of garbage. And so what we would tend to do is positive thinking. It's like, no, I'm happy. All is fine. I'm good. All is fine, which is like spraying perfume over that garbage. And you know, it's going to work. Like it's going to smell good for a little while, but the gunk is going to come out. And that's how emotions work, because they don't work with logic. They are produced in a different part of your brain. And so we're trying to choose a better feeling thought to get our way out of our emotions, and it doesn't work. It never works. And so the beautiful part about anger is just a mask. Anger is actually a sign that something is not going on in your life the way you want it. And there's something inside of you that wants to come out, and you keep pressing it back in. And so once we kind of lift, you know, we clear the anger, and you can, by the way, clear it really fast, 2 weeks out. Don't get triggered anymore for anger. But then it becomes peeling the onion, because then it gets real. Then it becomes like, okay, what's really underneath? Is it grief? Is it sadness? Is it anxiety? Is it, you know, and I could go on basically.
Right. Yeah, I know for myself, it's almost 100% always sadness. And I'm just now gotten to the emotional IQ in the last 6 months of when I start to feel myself get angry. I'll still pop. I still haven't gotten that over that part yet. But I immediately come back of like, okay, what is it that I'm not feeling? Right? What is it that I'm sad about? Like my feelings have gotten hurt. And that's my reaction is like a pit bull, right? You hurt my feelings, so my feelings are hurt, you know.
Get real with your anger. This is the thing, you know, it's not about, so you know how, like, let's use an example for kids, right? When kids are aggressive, we don't like that because it's the behavior we want to change. But the thing is, aggression is part of being human. So it's not okay to hit another human being, but it's absolutely okay to go and hit a punchback or a plush animal, but what we're trying to control is the aggression, and that doesn't work, because as a human, you have to have all the emotions. Otherwise, you will never be whole. You will never be complete. And it's about finding healthy ways to express that. And if we don't find the healthy ways, they're going to come out in a nasty way. They're going to come out in the uncontrolled way. And that's, of course, what's causing the damage. But, you know, it's like you're being cut off, right? A car cuts you off. And actually everything inside us is like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this? Like, blah, 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 don't stay in lane. And so we're like, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Let's not get upset. But you actually have to get upset, because that's how you release it. That's how you release it.
Yep. Feeling your emotions. Yep. I'm a lot of fire sign too. And I'm, you know, Mexican. And so there's a very, you know, there's a lot of fire there. Right.
Yes.
And I'm learning to accept it and love it and just and know, like I said, but it doesn't come out nasty like with my mom. I'm not name calling. I'm not being physical, right? I do get intense and I get loud, and I'm becoming to be okay with my intensity and my loudness because that's who I am. And
You are.
sometimes that shit needs to be said. Sometimes that's the way it needs to come across, otherwise like the other person sometimes doesn't get the message, right?
Yeah, our moms, by the way, are amazing trigger clearers as well.
I've had to actually say goodbye to my mom because she's such a bully, like the mean, just tear down. I'm
Set your standards.
yeah, I've set some boundaries up and it's been amazing. They talk about guilt though, man, writing off your mom. Like I had spent like a year processing the guilt that came with that, but
Oh, it's huge.
it's
Huge. It's like literally it's in our genes. You owe me.
Yeah, right.
Crazy.
Yeah. Crazy indeed. So how is it that you like work with folks? How does that typically work? What does a session look like? Do you work remotely?
So yes, mostly. I work internationally. Most of my, especially with Corona, obviously, like everything is online. But it's actually always been online, unless I have a local client that literally lives in my area. But I do work internationally. Everything is in English. I'm actually in Germany. I live in Germany, and there's different levels. So I always, say to the people, like, join our like self-study course. It's very foundational. It's very affordable, and you can go and experiment with the technique because it's not a very like common, so it's not mindset coaching. Like we're really doing emotional clearing, like we're clearing your gunk and then we're starting to program you basically. And so you people can just like get the course, they get a Facebook support group, and then if they want, they can join. We do group coaching calls. And there's a reason I do group coaching calls is, one important element that kind of is a barrier is sharing. This is very vulnerable. It's very intense. People have very, very kind of sacred stories around this. And so my job is to make sure I create a safe space where they feel it's safe to share. But it's a little bit of a hurdle for them to overcome. But once they're inside, the benefit they get out of this community is just, it's like, I can't even describe it. It's beyond amazing, because there once a sudden you see them, oh my God, I'm actually not crazy. Oh my God, I'm actually not alone. Oh my God, there's actually nothing wrong with me, And so they really, that support, like, coaching is fantastic. And it really, but it's just even, there's so many friendships that are forming from that, which is super, super amazing. And yes, I also do one-on-ones intensive, but on a very low scale.
That's incredible. So the first time I went into an anger management control class was when I was 13 years old. So I have been dealing with anger for almost the majority of my life.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, when you told me what your topic of your talk was, I was like, oh my God, I already love her. Because you're bringing light to this amazing story. Like you said, I mean, God, there were years I spent in so much shame and so much guilt around my anger, I had fear that I was going to hurt somebody, right?
Yes.
Literal, and that you can't talk to people about that shit. You can't, because they lock you up or they distrust you. I mean, the stigma that comes with big emotions is horrible.
It's horrible.
It is horrible. And social media has a tendency to continue to keep that cycle of toxic positivity, which, thank you for bringing that up as well, right? That everything is happy. And, it was like a year and a half ago, I brought up that I was dealing with some extreme depression, but this is what I did to pull myself out of it. And a company I was working for saw that and fired me. I was working for a health company, and they said that didn't look good for a health company, and they fired me, right? But yet they had people who were overweight working for them. Like, what sense does that make, for a health company? You know what I mean? But it's the mental health stuff, the stuff, the emotions, the stuff that you're talking about, it needs to be talked about so much, because there still is so much crap wrapped around it.
There's crap around it. And here's the thing, again, we tend to judge people for their, like, the behavior that comes out of it. What we don't understand is that emotions are not logical. And so we label emotions, we judge them, and that's part of the problem. And so the flip that needs to happen is to start at, emotions are just energy. They're energy in motion at the end of the day. They're actually a chemical that is being released from your brain into your body. And so once you understand that makes a huge difference, because then you can become an observer. You kind of almost become neutral towards the emotion that you're feeling. You're also learning to be sitting in the uncomfortable, and that it is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with being sad, right? But I'm with you. We're like such a far away from that. But once you understand that as a parent, you can have such a great impact on your children. Like I tell you, all the way my tantrums are happening right now, it's completely different. It's completely different, because I know they have nothing to do with me. I don't need to take it personal. I don't need to turn myself into a 5-year-old, because that's what happens, right? They turn you into the 5-year-old, and it's like, you go like this, and it doesn't solve anything. And so it's that we need massive mindset shifts when it comes to emotion. And by the way, if I can add that, I do not believe in anger management. I also do not believe in any emotional, like, you know how we say we need to control our emotion? That's exactly why we're here, people.
Absolutely. No, I agree 110% because as much research and shit that I've done in my own, and I imagine with your own, if there was a way to control your emotions, we would have figured it out by now. But the control comes out of lack of control. Look at, I love the example of toddlers, right? When you have a toddler, somebody takes something from the toddler and they have a nuclear meltdown, right? They'll melt down, and then within 2 minutes later, they're acting fine and playing with that person again, right? Because they felt their emotions. They didn't.
And they know how to do it.
They didn't make them wrong. They just felt. They just felt.
Yes.
And that's what we need to get back to. And yeah, it's scary how far we've come away from that, and how to bring that into a work environment, right? That can still feel safe, but supportive. Like I don't know. I dream for this in the future. I just don't know how that's going to work or look, but it definitely starts with folks like you bringing up the conversation. Like, this is beautiful.
Yeah, I work in corporate. I can tell you it's a tough conversation, but we're making progress, and it's important.
Well, even being a woman in corporate, right? Like, I never had a problem. If I'm crying, like, there's no holding that back. I can't hold it back. And for long decades, women having emotions, especially around their time of the month, right, in the corporate field, was highly frowned upon, right? It was very unprofessional.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a no wonder why we have so many angry moms, right? And angry women to begin with, because we've been taught that expressing those emotions make us weak, and especially during that time of the month, that it's not professional, and blah blah blah. So no,
yeah, exactly.
This is beautiful. I love it. I love it. Bring it on. All right, what else you got?
What else I've got? So to me, as I said, it's not about managing your emotions. It's about understanding. When we really understand how our emotions work, we can actually clear them out of our bodies. And when we clear our emotions out of our bodies, we actually start reconnecting with our true selves, because most of us are super disconnected. And so when we reconnect with our true selves, what we will find, we will see all the hurt that has been caused to us, because that's, by the way, why we're angry, right? I have a saying, which is yelling is a response to your past. You don't yell because your kids are not listening. Your brain doesn't just come up with a response just out of the brain. It doesn't work that way. Your brain doesn't just react. Your brain actually is a set of programs from the past. It's a set of using past experiences that your brain then uses to predict and construct basically a pre-saved response to what has been happening. So if your default response is yelling to when your kids are not listening, it's about, so what is actually really happening in here? Like, why is this triggering me? What is going on? And so what then happens usually is that the moms go like, well, because nobody respects me around the house here, well, nobody's listening to me here. And I expect them, right? I expect them to listen. And that's the other thing, is because think about it. Now it's your time to be the authoritarian, because when you were a child, you were not allowed to be the authority. You had to listen, you had to obey, you had to, you had to function, and you had to follow like all the rules. But the way we're doing it is in such a robotic non-emotional way. And so, you know, and then we say like, what do you mean? You know, you had a roof over your house, you had something to eat, you had good clothes. And like, don't get me wrong, when I started this work, I had a super amazing childhood. Like, I really couldn't even understand. Like, it's not like I had obvious trauma.
Oh.
But when I went in there and I started doing the work, it's the little things. You know, it's, for me, it was like the frustration around my mom. She didn't trust me. Like when I was 12, she would say, well, I know when you're 14, you're going to come home with a baby, you know, and it's like things like that. And she was speaking her own insecurity. And that's what I mean. She never processed her own fears, her own insecurities. So we dump it onto our children and we take this along, right? And then we react the same way. We say the same things that we then regret, basically. So to come back to the example, so if you say, you know, your kids are not listening, you've said them 5 times, and then you start yelling, and you go like, oh, whatever. What we then do is we go into finding out, okay, so what's really happening here? And so what you realize is, well, nobody listens to me, nobody respects me. So, and that's your emotional coding that you're operating under. So what then will happen is, because your brain has no clue what's real and what is not, it literally cannot distinguish. It's going to create those situations over and over again because it wants proof. Because your brain likes the familiar. And because if you yell when your kids are not listening, you have the same cycle of neuropeptides that are being released, the same chemicals, you get addicted to it. So you literally create the same situations over and over. So your body can release the same kind of chemicals over and over. And so what we need to do is we need to break the cycle. So you need to go and release that feeling of, I am never being heard. Nobody listens to me at all, right? I'm not being respected. So we clear that trajectory basically out of your system. And then you turn it around and then you anchor in, what is it that you want? How do you want to show up, right? And then you will see that, and what happens then is, so when your kids, the next time they don't listen, it just literally does not trigger you. It's literally like the trigger is gone. It's amazing. It's really amazing. And then you can show up exactly the way you want to show up. And then you start connecting. And so that's when you then start connecting with your kids, and we connect in a way where we say, hey, I understand you don't want to listen right now. So you connect, you basically reaffirm what they're doing, and then you redirect. But now I need you to blah, 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 blah. And I tell you, it works 99% of the times, because that's what we want. We're humans. We're here for connection.
Where were you 10 years ago before I blew up my relationship with my kid and now he's out of the house? Like, oh.
I'm so sorry. I did not know these things 10 years ago. I wish I did, you know, because I had to repair so many things with my children.
Well, God bless you that you figured this out while your kids were still young. Because I, like I said, my kid's 18 and out of the house now, and I can never go back. I can never go back.
You cannot, but you can still, you know, it's never too late. But I know what you mean. Yeah. There's still some things that I see in my children where I'm like, they're just like that because of me. So I have to like heal that and grieve. Yes.
Absolutely. So do you have anything coming up, like a book that you want to put out, or a workshop, or a class that you're starting? You know, this is the time this is the time to do. So I would really, really encourage you to check out our Rapid Anger Relief course. I don't know if you can share a link. I can give it to you. Yes, please.
So, you know, check that out. And then the other thing I encourage you to check out is our Facebook group called Mom Leadership. I give lots of free trainings in there. So we currently are running a series called Conscious Champagne Chats. And the reason for the title is because we're not conscious, and champagne doesn't make you conscious, you know. And it's called Conscious Champagne Chats. And it's basic. So conscious champagne chats.
Conscious champagne chats.
Yes.
Awesome.
And so what I do is, we have about 86, I think now. And so we're planning to do at least 100. And it's all like 10-minute short trainings, chats about mom leadership and building up your skills on mom leadership. So that's something you can always check out. But I really encourage you, you know, to check out the Rapid Anger Relief System, because I mean, the results we're seeing are incredible. 2 weeks. Moving are moving so fast, and but I tell you, it's going to be a 180-degree twister from the way you see your world, and because it's actually not about your kids, it's about you.
Oh, absolutely. You just gave me goosebumps. You are like my new favoriteest person in the whole wide world right now. I can't wait. I've done a lot in the last year with like a lot of somatic experiencing work. And then I also found out that there were some, physiological reasons why I was so quick to anger too, which I've been able to balance since then. So I love bringing, both sides in. That's why I'm a functional practitioner.
Awesome.
But, there's always room for improvement, right? Especially after a lifetime of reacting this way. So I don't try to, hunt somebody down with my car anymore when they cut me off, flipping them off the whole time. Like, no, it was scary. Like, there were some times on the highway that I thought somebody was going to die. It got that bad. And now I'm just kind of like, rah, rah, rah,
Yeah, anger gets you to do some really stupid things.
Oof, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's like you get hijacked, and it's a horrible feeling.
Totally.
Yeah. So keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, and thank you so much for being on here. I can't wait to share this to the world and wake up more and more people that there's not something wrong with them. They're not inherently broken, that
No, they're not.
They're not. The system is fucking broken. That's what's broken.
I agree. I'm 100% with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. You all have
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.